We're going to look at here. This is your camera box. So this is what the camera plugs into. Functionally speaking, it's very similar to what you've been using. Just looks a little better, right? But functionally, so like you get to choose arthroscopy, cystoscopy. There's ENT. Hysteroscopy, laparoscopy, whatever case you're doing in here, I'm going to be completely transparent. It only changes the settings about 10%, right? So even if you left it on arthroscopy when you're doing a laparoscopy, as far as visualization goes, it's only going to change things a little bit. I've had nurses say, I can't tell the difference anyway. The main reason you want to change this is not as much for the visualization as it is for the buttons on the camera. So when you choose a specialty, it's going to change what the buttons do, right? So like for example, the insufflator, right? You can turn on and off the insufflator from the camera head when you're on laparoscopy, but there is no insufflator toggle when you're in arthroscopy because they don't use an insufflator. Does that make sense? So if you don't put it on the right setting here, the doctor's buttons might not be correct. So just for that reason alone, not to mention that it dials in the image settings a little bit better, please make sure you're on the correct setting. Fair enough? You'll notice sometimes, so like we're on laparoscopy right now. When you're on laparoscopy, there's some additional settings that come on down here that you can turn on and off. It says SPY, right? When you're on arthroscopy, for example, that disappears, that goes away, because it's not something that you can do. I'll kind of quickly, it's probably something we won't use a ton here, but just so you know, SPY, this camera is a very advanced camera. It can see things that the human eye can't see. So if you were doing a bowel resection, for example, right? You guys do those here very often? Yeah? Okay, awesome. So like a bowel resection, when you're doing the anastomosis and you're putting the bowel back together, sometimes the doctor will look at it and he'll go, looks good to me, looks healthy to me, and then you get a phone call at 2 o'clock in the morning, there's a leak. The tissue it's become necrotic and there's a bowel leak, right? And you have to bring the patient back in. It's a big pain in the butt. With this camera, you can inject something called ICG into the bloodstream. It adheres to the proteins in the blood. Anyway, long story short, this camera can see that and it can see where the blood flow is. So even though the doctor's looking at it and going, oh, the bowel looks healthy to me, he can look at it and go, oh, actually that bowel's not healthy at all. I need to cut a little bit more. Or, oh, it's even healthy where I didn't think it was. I can give this person a little more of his bowel back, right? Anyway, and then you're not having to readmit patients and stuff like that. So my point is this camera has some capabilities that are pretty slick that some doctors might want to use from time to time. And when they want to use that, assuming you're on the right setting, laparoscopy, you come down here, it won't let me right now because there's nothing plugged in, but you turn on the SPY mode and all of a sudden things start coming to life. Cool? So this is your new light cable. Well, okay, so this is your camera. First we'll do the camera. So the camera, kind of similar to your old one. It's got a little arrow on this part right here. That'll help you know you want to match up the arrow with the arrow right here. You line those up and you plug it in. And then you've got an image, right? So there you go. Okay, perfect. So anybody have any questions about the camera box? Pretty similar to what you guys already use, right? Okay. This is your new light cable, okay? The way I remember it is the black end goes with the black, right? So you know which side to hand off. And when you're plugging it in, just make sure this is kind of open. And that way when you plug it in, you'll know it's plugged in correctly and all the way when you get this halo around, it's kind of a lit up ring. Because otherwise, sometimes they're not plugged in all the way and you don't really realize it. But if it's plugged in all the way correctly, you'll get that halo. Now, this light cable is something called a safe light, right? And it's a little easier to demonstrate. I dropped the ball on a couple of things. Jace isn't very happy with me right now. So, I didn't sell many adapters, so we're scrambling right now to get some adapters. Sorry about strike two. Yeah, trust me, strike three's coming too. Anyway, so we're getting some adapters. So this is going to be kind of hard to demonstrate without the adapter. But if you can imagine with me for a second, a patient's on the table, the light cable's sitting on them, right? What we don't want is a burn or a fire, heaven forbid. I don't want to throw anybody under the bus, but those do happen, believe it or not. And that's why Intermountain has mandated that we do these for all facilities, right? So if you go to try and turn on this light source, or the doctor does from the camera head, which you can do, if you try and do that, you're going to hear the button, you're going to hear it turn on, but it's not going to turn on, right? Because the whole point of safe light is it's not going to turn on unless it's connected to a scope. Once it's disconnected from a scope, it automatically turns off, right? Which is awesome. It keeps you from burning patients, but it can cause some confusion if you're trying to turn it on. You're like, the light source is broken. This thing won't freaking work. You sold us new stuff and it doesn't work worth a shit, And it's like, oh, well, it works. It's just working a little too well, right? What you got to do is you got to plug it into the scope. So the adapter is going to stay with the scope, right? If you take the adapter off of the scope, excuse me, still growing, I guess, huh? If you take the adapter off of the scope and you put it directly on the light cable, it'll turn on. It'll frickin' turn on and it'll burn you, right? So the point is the adapter stays with the scope. And all you got, it's like magnetic. So when it connects, and when you want to turn off the light source, just disconnect it, it'll automatically turn on. Cool?
Yes. You're fine.
This is a nice light source, right? It puts out a lot of light. Unless a doctor's asking for it, I wouldn't turn it above 60, right? It doesn't need to be at 100. Some doctors in their head, they're like, they used an old crappy light source 100 years ago that had to be at 100, and so now in their mind, if it's not at 100, it's not putting out enough light. That's just simply not the case. I mean, don't argue with the doctor, but my point is that it doesn't need to be. So if it's up to you guys, leave it at 60ish, 50, 60. And if he doesn't have enough light in his image, he's got other issues. We need to open the aperture. We need to change some other things, not how much light is going. We're just masking the real problem. Does that make sense? Okay. Okay, two more things about this light source. It has two other capabilities that are very sweet in certain circumstances. The first one is called auto light. I have auto light turned off. The default is turned off. It can help in certain circumstances that I will talk with the doctors about. It's mostly for orthopedic surgeons. I'll discuss it with them. If they want it turned on, they'll let you know. And if they do, you come over here. There's a little button right here. You probably can't see it from where you're at. You turn on auto light, right? But auto light basically, if it's turned on and you don't know it, sometimes this light cord is kind of transparent a little bit. You'll start to see it turn on and off because it's changing. It's auto changing the amount of light based on the surgeon's needs, right? But sometimes doctors are like, why? Turn that off. Why? There's something wrong with our light cable. You know what I mean? It's like, no, just if that's happening, then somebody has accidentally turned on light, auto light. Just turn it off. Cool. Okay. The second thing this light source does, which is pretty slick, is I don't know if you guys can see these two screws right here, right? Those weren't on your old light sources. Those are for something called lighted ureteral stents. Has anybody ever heard of those? No? So like if you're doing a lower bowel resection or you're doing, there's certain procedures where when the doctor's ablating and he's cutting stuff and he gets awfully close to the ureters, right? And if you accidentally cut a ureter, it's the worst thing ever, which doesn't normally happen. It's rare, right? If you do, it's awful. But what actually ends up happening is because a doctor is so nervous about hitting the ureter, it takes him an hour because he's so nervous. He's looking for it at all times. This thing, you put these lighted stents in, they're infrared, but they go up into the ureter, and then you can't see it with the naked eye, but my camera can see the near infrared, and those ureters light up like a Christmas tree. And now all of a sudden the doctor's like, no, right where that ureter's at, and he gets a case done that would have taken him 3 hours in an hour and a half. And
so you can't see it just looking at it, but you can see it with...
See it on the monitor through the camera. You can,
okay.
But if you were like let's say they opened the patient up or whatever, you wouldn't be able to see it, right? But my camera can see it, which puts it up on the monitor. So, like I said, some pretty cool stuff. Some of this stuff is probably more than you need in a lot of situations, but comes in handy when you need it, right? This is what Intermountain wanted you guys to have. They wanted you to have the latest and greatest. I got Strike 3 probably came a few months ago, actually, because I quoted you guys a little lesser thing. You're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't, right? If I'd have quoted you the latest and greatest, best of the best right out the gate, they'd have said, this guy's trying to screw us. He's trying to sell us what we don't need, you know.